And then on the 20th, we got Danny and Derek Diggler, the Double Ds. On the 21st, we got Lexi Lux, an interview from Sweden. On the 27th, we have Andros J. On the 28th, Relentless Riley Rose. And then July 5th, we have Katya the Soviet Suicide. So a big month for Wrestling With, and you can find information on those interviews and so much more, obviously, on our YouTube page, on Castbox. Like, subscribe, hit the notification, and you will know when those interviews drop. Alright, now that we're done putting ourselves over, it is not a great day for wrestling, as we lost an absolute positive legend this week. The Orange Shiek has passed away. I believe he was 81. And it really sucks. And it quite possibly, this show, all wrestling shows, anything involving wrestling, might have not happened if he wasn't such an integral part of pro wrestling back in the day. Obviously, losing the WWE Championship to Hulk Hogan, starting the Rock and Wrestling Connection, and bringing wrestling into the mainstream. He was a big part of that. No, Scooter?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, my father is now now my father's actually a couple months older. No, younger than Sheiky baby. But the one wrestler my male relatives would always remember is the Iron Shiek. They had to do the Iron Sheik or they knew Hogan. But shall we go through some of the Sheik's great accomplishments?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Alright. Born Khosrow Al-Vaziri, I apologize if I'm butchering that name. Iron Sheik, true to himself, he was actually Iranian. Of course, he peaked during the 1980s WWF wrestling boom. He actually has quite an extensive history in amateur and Olympic wrestling.
Right.
He idolized Iranian Olympic gold medalist Gholam Reza Takhti, and after that he would go on and become an amateur wrestler, and he would also work as a bodyguard for Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi for a number of years. Competed in the Greco-Roman wrestling in the '68 Olympics. After his Olympic idol had been found mysteriously dead, he and his family emigrated to the U.S. and Sheik actually was the assistant coach for 2 U.S. Olympic squads in the 70s. He was also the Amateur Athletic Union Greco-Roman Wrestling Champion and gold medalist in the 81 kilogram category. And then, rounding out his Olympics career, he was the assistant coach for the USA team in the 72 games at Munich. And the Sheik would get into pro wrestling. He'd start up in AWA, Vern Gagne. Sheik had a hand in training Ricky Steamboat, Greg Gagne, Jim Brunzell. In the AWA, he primarily worked as a face. Until somebody suggested him being a bit more like the Sheik, Sabu's uncle, would suit him better. He would, after that, he shaved his head bald. Yes, it's true, Sheik had hair. He would then add that signature mustache, swinging his Persian clubs.
The Persian clubs was so iconic.
Yes. Oh my god.
And that was a shoot. That wasn't, oh, these are gimmick. He could actually do that, and there was only one other person that even legitimately came close to it, and I believe that was Bob Backlund.
When I get to it, there's a very interesting story there. 79, he joins the WWF, competes in the first ever Battle Royal in Madison Square Garden, and wins. That same night, that earned him a title shot against Bob Backlund. That was a 30-minute battle. That was not the night Sheik won. Sheik would leave in at the start of the 80s. He would pal around Jim Crockett Promotions at Mid-South, and as well as Championship Wrestling from Florida and Georgia Championship Wrestling. NWA National Television Champion. And then the infamous Backlund for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. It aired December 24 on the episode of All American Wrestling. Iron Sheik, camel clutch locked into Backlund. Arnold Scollin throws in the towel. One of the very few times we've ever seen that happen ever in the history of professional wrestling. Then 10 days later, Backlund would get a rematch. But unfortunately, no. Backlund would be replaced by Hogan. I'm sorry, this was January 31st, 1984, not 10 days after he lost the title. January 31st, 1984, Hogan leg drop after breaking out of the camel clutch. Boom. The Rock and Wrestling connection is off and running. According to the Sheik, Greg Gagne offered him $100,000 to break Hogan's leg and go back to the AWA with the WWF title. Sheik refused. Greg Gagne still disputes the story to this day. He would have a legendary house show feud with the Iron Sheik. He would also team with Nikolai Volkov for a lot of the mid-80s. They would win the WWF Tag Team titles at the first WrestleMania, defeating Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo, the U.S. Express. Everybody would know, they'd be swinging the flags of Iran and Russia, as Volkov would give a throaty version of the Russian national anthem. That
wasn't actually the Russian anthem.
No, it wasn't, but it was pure heat. It was all planned. Sheik would make an appearance in the video for Cyndi Lauper's Goonies Aren't Good Enough. And in fact, he would actually make an appearance in both videos for the song as well. As the 80s wound down, Sheik and Volkov, who were managed by Fred Blassie, were eventually, their contracts were sold to the Doctor of Style, the Reverend Slick. The Sheik's last WrestleMania appearance before 2017, WrestleMania 2, in the Battle Royal with the football players and everyone that was won by Andre the Giant. Sheik actually eliminated by Bruno Sammartino in that match. Of course, May 1987, we see probably the first ever solid breaking of kayfabe as the Iron Sheik and Jim Duggan, who were bitter enemies on television, are pulled over in the same car. Duggan was high on pot, Sheik on cocaine. Sheik would be released shortly after. Duggan stayed on, but he's taken off. It's one of the most infamous stories in behind the scenes of pro wrestling. Then from 87 all the way up to 91, yeah, he would find himself in Dallas, back in Minnesota, and in Puerto Rico for Carlos Colon's WWC. 1989, Sheik joins WCW. He gets into a mini feud with Sting. And on April 11th episode of World Championship Wrestling, Sting and the Iron Sheik came face to face as Sheik challenged Sting to a Persian club swinging competition. It would happen 2 weeks later, and Sting actually admitted that Sheik won. Again, something very out of the ordinary. Sheik would then find himself in teaming up with, or at least managing, Ron Simmons. He would be involved with Paul Dangerously, aka Paul Heyman. Sheik would look for a tag team partner for Ron Simmons. Sheik would unfortunately leave WCW in January 1990, only to return 7 months later after Ole Anderson gets promoted to head booker. Sheik's contract with WCW was apparently forgotten about, and it was allowed to roll over, which made Sheik quite a bit of money. And on his last WCW pay-per-view, Great American Bash 1990, he faced Mike Rotunda in a losing effort. Last match in WCW was against the Junkyard Dog, January 1991. Sheik would return, this time as Colonel Mustafa, alongside General Adnan, to the newly healed Sgt Slaughter as Iranian sympathizers, and fight himself back in a feud with Hulk Hogan for the title around WrestleMania 7 and so forth. Mustafa, Sheik would wrestle sparingly, not a lot, but Mustafa would find himself in the 1992 Royal Rumble, some saying his last attempt to win the world title. After that, she kind of stayed out of the ring and lived his life, basically. He would have sporadic appearances, managing
the gimmick battle royal in 2001, his final match, and no less a win on the grand estates of them all.
Yes. You also manage Tiger Ali Singh, son of Tiger Jeet Singh. Unfortunately, Tiger Ali Singh crashed and burned. Sheik would also find himself working alongside his former rival, Bob Backlund, in managing the Sultan a.k.a. Rikishi, as the Sultan faced Rocky Maivia at WrestleMania 13 for the Intercontinental Championship. Sheik would have sporadic appearances in movies and television. There's just so much, because we get to Sheik in his twilight, and things get insane. So much to the point that I can't really talk about them. But I will say this. He challenged the mayor of Toronto, Rob Ford. If you don't know who that is, look it up. To an arm wrestling match at his office. But of course, the one thing I think wrestling fans and meme fans all over the world know is the Sheik's love for humbling people and anal. With his what turned into a trademark phrase, "I fuck your ass, make you humble." That was our Iron Shiek. My God.
And anywhere you look at it, like I said, it sucks that he passed. But he was 81. He did everything he could possibly do in the pro wrestling world. And yeah, he's had his demons and his life issues, but we all got our issues and our problems. And at the end of the day, he was able to overcome them and have a good quality of life before he passed. And you can't ask for more than that. No, Scooter?
Nope. Can't ask for anything more than that at all.
And of course, our thoughts and prayers go out to the family, the friends and family of the Orange Sheik. There's not much more to say other than Iron #1 and Hulk Hogan, go fuck yourself.
Alright, #1, Hulk Hogan. Ha! Pooey!
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.